Okay, so it was either at the very end of last year or earlier this year where I had heard a Dr. Seuss quote that I'd never heard before, and to paraphrase it, the sentiment is, life is weird, and people are really fucking weird. See, Dr. Seuss isn't gonna drop F-bombs, but it's, people are weird. And love is what happens when you find someone whose weirdness is compatible with yours. When you fall into mutual weirdness with somebody, that's when you find love. And to me, that quote is kind of the emotional core of Pixar's Elio. Although I don't know if Dr. Seuss's quote is meant to be specifically for romantic love or it can be other kinds of love as well. For Elio, it is not a film about romantic love. It is a film about familial love. It's a film about platonic love. And another quote that sums up the film pretty well, comes from the film itself, which is, I may not always understand you, but I do love you. And I think that's a sentiment that we all need to hear sometimes. When sometimes we feel like we are being really weird, if we feel like our needs are just too much, if we feel like our value is dependent on what we do for others, not just the person that we are. And in those moments when you just feel alone, you are someone who is loved. You are someone who is not alone. You are someone who is appreciated, adored, and loved, not in spite of your weirdness, but because of it. And I think that is a very beautiful theme, and I think that's a very poignant theme. So, from that regard, I really, really loved this movie. From the regard of like the X's and O's of the execution of its plot and its characters, to be perfectly honest, I'm gonna go let me try that again. I'm gonna go ahead and go into full spoilers. 3, 2, 1, full spoilers for the rest of the film. I will say visually, I think the film does look very good. I really like how colorful it is, especially on the main ship. What was it called? It's like the it's something like communication. I don't remember exactly what it was called, which is probably a bad sign. I watched it only a couple hours ago, and some of the character names and shit aren't super sticking with me. But, like, the ship is very pretty. The Grygon, I think, was the name of the villain. I'm going to keep calling him that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I know my computer's here and I can look it up, but I'm not gonna. If his name is Grygon, great. If not, it's not. I thought he was a lot of fun. Like, I thought he was this perfect combination of really funny, genuinely threatening, with, like, a good heart and emotional core to him. Again, since we're in full spoilers, the quote that I use that's from the film is something he says to his son. There's a couple scenes in this movie involving Elio's clone, and that the way they're shot with, like, the angles and the lighting feel like they're out of a horror movie. The first is when his aunt Olga sees the hair that she plucked from Elio's head, or I guess the clone's head, going back to the body, and she's following it, and, like, her shadow is looming over him, and she's slowly approaching and peels off the eye patch to see that there's no eye under it, and then he just grabs her hand and wakes up. Like, yeah, if this was a horror movie, this would actually be creepy as hell. In context, I am, like, laughing in the middle of the theater because this is not a horror movie. Like, this is awesome. And there's also the scene, again, with the clone, when they're on the base, and it's like there's these two military, like, guards who turn, and then they see this kid in shadows, and there's like a bunch of red in the back, and he's slowly walking toward them and dissolving onto them. Like, oh man. In another movie, this would be horrifying. In context, this is so funny, and, like, I'm having a really good time. I think the alien designs are very fun. Most of them in the community thing were very aquatic like there's the big like rock dude who obviously isn't. But there is this like little jellyfish fairy, there's this fish sea slug nudibranch mind reading thing I really liked. The other dude, I don't remember. I remember what he looked like. I'm having trouble just describing it, but he looked like something I would probably see in like the bottom of the ocean. I don't know, something like a combination of like a water creature and a bird. I thought these were neat. I don't remember what Grygon's people were called. Like Hydraxians, Hydraulians, something like that. But I'm probably just gonna call them the worms. When they're in their armor, I think they look kind of cool. They sort of in the armor, they kind of reminded me of Waternoose from Monsters Inc. Like the four legs, like the bigger frame, like the eyes and shit. I was like, this is like if Waternoose and Emperor Zurg fused, which is something I never contemplated or considered before. But no, like visually, this is kind of neat. I fuck with this. Out of the suit, they're distractingly phallic. Like, oh no, like, see, like, I wanna really like Glorgon, but he just looks like a dick. And not helped by the fact that he can shoot this, like, sticky white substance out of his head. Like, oh, like, this had to be on purpose, right? And there's a scene where he gets, like, stuck in a wall as Elio's talking to him, so he's he's like talking through his tail, and I'm like, great, now the dick is talking out his ass. Like, I don't like this. There's another scene which I think is in some of the trailers when Elio is using him as a bargaining chip, which is pretty funny. But he's like scratching like the back of his neck, and Glorgon's kind of like, yeah, like really enjoying it and laughing. And yeah, with how distractingly phallic he looks, I did not enjoy that. I was like, no, I don't know about this, Chief. The film's, like, when you look at its plot and its overall vibe, the film is like this weird amalgamation of Lilo and Stitch, which you would kind of expect. It's like, okay, Elio is a young boy, like he's a young orphan living with, you know, like a female, I almost said party member, a female family member who is clearly not prepared for this, but trying her best. But she's having a difficult time relating to him in this capacity, partially because she's dealing with her own loss, partially because she had her own life and now she has to sacrifice to take care of him, and also partly because the kid is really weird. Like, okay, this is very Lilo and Nani. Not one-to-one, but similar. There's a whole thing with aliens. Like, okay, Lilo and Stitch. Got it. It also reminds me a lot of Chicken Little, where the first chunk of this movie that's just on Earth before he goes into space is very mean. I don't find it, like, Chicken Little feels like a DreamWorks movie with just how aggressively mean it is, to the point where it loops back around to being really funny. And I noticed when Clay and I, like, did our Disney marathon, when Chicken Little is being aggressively mean, it's a really funny movie. When the movie stops doing that, and it's like, okay, now we're kind of focusing on our own, like, plot and everything that's going on, it becomes a lot less funny, and I'll admit a lot less engaging. This was almost the opposite. It's like when it stopped being as mean, it became more engaging, and I started liking it a lot more. But I got Chicken Little vibes early on, and the fact that what is Grygon's big motivation? Well, part of it is he's like, well, I don't know, like, I'm kind of an asshole. I want to, like, conquer things. I want to be part of this great communion, but they don't want me, so I'm going to conquer them. Like, it's kind of funny, but his main motivator later on with the whole bargaining chip thing is, I just want to find my son. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is reminding me a lot of the back end of Chicken Little, weirdly enough. And then you get the ending of the movie, which, I'm already in full spoilers, but there's a scene when Elio is talking to his aunt, and he's like, you know, I what does he say? He's like, there's so many other worlds out there, and, maybe one of them will want me because I'm clearly not wanted here. Well, I want you. No, you don't. Yes, I do, because you're family. Well, you're not family. And it's a scene, I know I was going to get to another point, but I thought I was going to get there with this scene. I don't think this is the actual scene, but I'm going to talk about this point anyways. Sorry. But it's a weird moment because I could watch that and think, I feel like I get where Elio is coming from. Like, I understand why he, as a kid, with all the ostracization that he's going through and the intense loneliness that he's going through and how he's dealing with his grief, why he would feel like this and lash out like this. But in terms of the pacing of the film, it didn't quite work for me. It's like, this feels like a big emotional moment, and it is, but it was like that close to working, but it just felt off and didn't quite work. But the scene I was thinking of is, maybe it is part of that scene, I don't remember, but I almost said his mom. His aunt says to him, it's like, well, your place isn't up there, it's down here, like, it's with us. And he's like, I don't believe that. And I heard that, I was like, okay, so, like, obviously he's going to come to that realization by the end of the film that I don't belong up here, I belong down here, I belong with my aunt. And at the end of the movie, where it's like, all right, you gave Grigon back his son, and you fixed the relationship between the father and son, and that's all Gucci. Now the big communion, like, wants you to be the ambassador of Earth, and everything is good, and you can stay up here. And his aunt, I think if Aunt Anne, like, I'm gonna probably go back and forth in pronouncing that word, is watching him celebrate amongst all of these, let's call them gods for a second, celebrating with all of them, knowing she's about to get left behind, and he, in the midst of the celebration, looks back at her and realizes, no, a life up here, even an immortal life, would be empty. I wish to stay on Earth with her. I think I know where I belong. Now, no, he doesn't actually say the lines from the end of Hercules, but wow, visually, it's like, this is just the ending of Hercules. Like, what the hell? And I don't want to say that Elio, it's like, man, this just feels like a rip-off of Lilo and Stitch, and they did a couple other things to make it feel original. It still feels like its own movie, but the ingredients used, to me, were very familiar, especially the ending. It was like, that is straight up just the ending of Hercules. I would know. I've seen that movie a lot, and I watched it just a couple weeks ago. You can't fool me. But I was talking about some of the emotional beats that don't quite work in that scene with Elio and his aunt. There's another one where he's talking to a couple kids. So there's one kid named Bryce. I don't remember the name of the other kid. It was like Philip, but I think at one point he called him like Killip or something. So I don't know, maybe other kid, because he's not super important. But essentially, this is early on in the movie where Elio's like, okay, like, I want to get abducted by aliens because I want to find a world where I belong. And he hasn't articulated it like that at this point, but that's, kind of the idea. So I guess he put up flyers for like a radio club for essentially people like bring their radios and learn how to use them better so we connect up with space. Excuse me, which is an idea that comes back later on in the climax of the film, when not only is he talking to Bryce, but he's talking to people all around the globe, and they're helping him dodge space debris. And admittedly, so number one, I'm like, okay, like, this is kind of a fun climax just on its own. Two, I think it's doing a really good job of using one of the film's main themes, which is the "you are not alone." As sad as you might feel, as weird as you might feel, you are not alone. But also, I was like, okay, yeah, this feels like something out of Kingdom Hearts. I can see, like, the Kingdom Hearts 2, like, fucking, like, widescreen shit, just where, like, you have to protect the ship and dodge the asteroids as all this is happening. Like, yeah, there's moments in this movie where just, like, looking at some, like, when you first see the design of, like, the communion world, like, that looks like something I would see floating in space in a Kingdom Hearts game. There's a non-zero chance this is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 4. And you know what? I'm not gonna complain. If I get to fight my boy Grigon in Kingdom Hearts, I'll take it. I will. But to my point, so he meets up with Bryce because Bryce's like, oh yeah, like I saw the flyer and I brought my radio. Like I don't remember if they ever say like where they are in the movie. They're somewhere in America. And he's like, yeah, like I've contacted someone out in Ohio. Like it's not the biggest reach, but I've got some reach. And Elio essentially is just trying to like take the dude's radio, combine it with his own, and then get the kid to leave. And I'm watching this and thinking to myself, you are the asshole in this situation. Like, you put up flyers, the dude showed up, clearly has a similar interest, maybe not quite with aliens, but has a similar interest with the radio, is like, yeah, this seems really cool, wants to talk to you, and you're just like, okay, give me my thing, and leave, and like, making up stories to try to get the guy to go. I'm like, I get it. He's going through a lot. He just kind of wants to go to other worlds and all of that. This scene is not endearing me to him. Like, I think of Lilo and Stitch, because a lot of this movie made me think of Lilo and Stitch. And the start of the movie, when Lilo starts beating up Myrtle, and like, I think she bit me. And what causes that is after Lilo gives her whole explanation about Pudge, Myrtle just says, you're crazy. And it's being insulted that makes Lilo snap. Here, Elio is essentially the aggressor, and then the thing with the friend like trying to mess with the radio makes it worse. But he was already the aggressor and wasn't coming off as super likable, which wasn't super endearing me to his character. Again, I do think emotionally the movie gets better as it gets going. Like, you see the aunt and the clone Elio, who's acts a lot more normal, and how for her it's like, no, I like my nephew's weirdness. The fact that he's not weird means it's not him and there's something wrong and I need to investigate. I like that. Elio's relationship with Glordon. I don't like Glordon's design, but I do like the bond they have. I think it's very sweet. I think a lot of these emotional moments really do land as the film goes on, but I don't think it works at the start. There's also a scene at the start where it's as Elio is like trying to get abducted by aliens. He's like writing in the sand, aliens abduct me, and just sitting there and trying to make a connection with them. The song that's playing is Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads, which, number one, having just like binged the Talking Heads albums, like, okay, like that, I just appreciate that even more. It's a song I've always liked, now I have even more respect for it. Two, I wasn't expecting to hear a song that I associate with the, like, crushing existential horror of middle-class life and midlife crises, just used in a montage to just show, like, yeah, letting the days go by. It did, I love the song. I don't think this is the right song for this scene, but okay. So overall, did I enjoy the film? Yes. Do I love the film? I don't think so. But would I recommend it? Absolutely. I definitely think it's worth watching. I think the film is enjoyable on its own merits, even though some parts of it are familiar. And while I think it takes a while to get going, like to a point where I was really invested, I do genuinely think it gets there. And once it gets there, I would say it stays. So I recommend it. I hope you go see it. And if you do, I hope you enjoy it. I think that's it. See you.